Hi, I'm Shelley Maurer,
And I'm Cher Emmerich. Welcome to Life Lessons from Pickleball,
where we engage with pickleball players from around the world about life on and off the court.
Thanks for joining us. Welcome, everyone, to Life Lessons from Pickleball. We feel really privileged because one of our previous guests, PJ, Purple Jesus, introduced us to our guest today, Deano Guyer, who is better known to most folks as Deano. Deano, you played tennis from age four, through collegiate ball in Indiana, and now you are a pro pickleball player coaching at the Premier Pickleball Club in Redmond, Oregon, with your men's teammate Brooks.
You are also co-owner of Vivas Pickleball, a clothing brand you co-founded. And our favorite question is also your favorite question. When did you first start playing pickleball? And what was going on in your life at the time?
That's a great question, and I want to first thank you both for having me on. Cher and Shelley, it was a privilege to be asked to join you both. I have to make one note here. I'm not the actual co-owner, but we'll get into that. But I did co-found this company, and that's part of the origin story. So I have really begun playing pickleball in 2019. I had played a few previous times, like many of us in our 30s and 40s and even 50s. We played in high school maybe one time. That was me. But I also played once in Indiana, which is where I'm from, and I helped a mixer of folks play. I was a tennis coach at the time, which is something I've done most of my life. But I was helping a group of men and women just kind of socialize and play the sport. I just learned the rules on YouTube and thought, okay, yeah, I can do this. I can kind of run this clinic. But I was really just there to help people rotate. And so that was a lot of fun. And at that time, still, I laugh about it because, again, so many people think this, but I viewed it as like a lawn sport, truly. I thought it was a hoot, but I didn't think it was like a very athletic thing to do. So yeah, in short, I mean, I've been playing competitively though for about 5 years.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't until I moved to Bend, Oregon that I happened to ride my bike to a park and there's a professional tournament going on. And I said, wow, like, damn, I could play this sport. I could play this and have a lot of fun and kind of exercise my need to move. And yeah, of course, many people in the pickleball world know tennis players have an unfair advantage climbing in the beginning with just the skill set. So I was in that boat, and it's been a thrilling ride, thrilling journey so far.
How did you meet PJ?
So PJ, I mean, gosh, this guy is just a top-notch human. The first time I met him was at a tournament in Illahee. Illahee is the name of the club, but it's in Salem, Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
And he was competing with a friend of his there, and he and his buddy, who's also a friend of mine too, Michael Enright. I mean, they just absolutely destroyed everyone, including me. And afterwards, though, I mean, just the kindest person, like so humble, was even like offering tips to the group there on his style and his learning. So, but I've gotten to know him over the last year, and he's just been an outstanding person with everyone I see him interact with. He's a well-studied, well-thought, well-spoken, very just heartfelt and integrated with the pickleball community at least. And I just know that like that permeates out into his other ventures in life. So yeah, I mean, he's been great to know. He's obviously an extraordinary player, but someone you could have really deep conversations with, or check out the characters at a casino late into the evening. Just for the atmosphere. None of
Well,
the
it might
other.
it might not surprise you, but he said nearly the same things about you. So you two are
Oh, he's
definitely heart to heart buddies.
yeah. Well, that's good to hear. Yeah, he's a fast friend, and I hope I get to interact with him more. Um, yeah. Well, I'm honored. I'm honored that he actually recommended me for this. This is actually my first podcast, so I was like, "Oh, thanks, man." Kind of
Oh,
nervous to do it, but yeah, it's fun. It's fun, and yeah, that he thinks highly of me is an honor.
well, we're honored that we're the debut for you on the podcast. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. How's it going so far?
Great.
All right, good, good.
So tell us what life's like being a professional pickleball player.
Yeah, well, life for me personally is outstanding in that I get to do it so often. I mean, not only do I get to play it and compete at a high level and travel to parts of the country and hopefully overseas one day because it's growing so fast. I would love that. But I get to coach it as well. And I get to interact with many people in our community here and in the greater Northwest. And I get to see the joy that it brings people. It really is like unlike anything I've ever seen. Even with tennis, I mean, tennis, amazing sport, my first love for sure. But the community aspect in pickleball is something that I haven't seen really. The breadth of it and just the way it touches people with all walks of life too.
Yeah.
And it's part of the reason we jumped into a clothing brand that was really just for pickleball. I don't know. I don't know if I ever would have thought like, even if I helped start a retail brand that we would just do one activity, but we believe in the sport. We believe in what it does for people.
So
So,
tell
and
us
yeah,
about it. Tell us about it and the mission and how that all came about.
yeah. So I have a dear friend of mine, Jessica Tuthill, and she and I became fast friends on the pickleball court. We were we were two of maybe 10 people we knew in our 30s and 20s that played, and we fell in love with it. And Jessica and I started a conversation as we were just recognizing how many folks we spoke to that have a pickleball saving their life story.
Wow.
So we spoke to some that had an injury that they rehabbed or they, um, you know, got through a grieving period. They discovered that they could play a sport for the first time. They had no athletic background at all, never played a sport.
Hmm.
We found many people who used to do this or that,
Mm-hmm.
and they found refuge in pickleball. I think the big hitters, though, are the purpose people find, the social aspect, the community,
Mm-hmm.
and so many friends in that area. And yeah, there's a few of us in the pickleball world that really are addicted to the competition and really like the feeling of that intensity and really feeling alive, I guess. Um, especially with a little wiffle ball coming at your head. Um, but yeah, the company though, we had that conversation and I just said offhandedly, pickleball saves lives, whether it's a widow, finding a new partner or, you had a difficult divorce and you find someone new or you just get to move your body again in a healthy environment. And so my friend Jessica, she ran with it. She was like, I think we should start a clothing brand, like a little athleisure brand. We noticed there was a lot in the space that, there was funny sayings and cliches and puns and stuff like that, but we wanted to offer something to the player base that was, that felt good, that was a good quality, high quality, but also at like a reasonable price point so people could play in the things they feel good and confident in. And we wanted to just bring the spirit of pickleball onto clothing items so people like us, the three of us can go somewhere and be like, hey, look here, like I play pickleball, start conversation starter. Do you play pickleball? Do you want to play with me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what clothes do you have in your clothing line?
So we do a lot of tops. So we have athletic wear that ladies love, different crop tops, like half, uh, different crew necks and shorter sleeves. We have a lot of hooded sweatshirts. I'm wearing one right now, actually, with
Nice.
zippers and non-zippers. They're super comfy. We have a lot of hats and hope to get into some bottom wear soon, some shorts and skirts, but that's actually kind of tough to do these days, I guess. So learning quite a lot about the retail space, but Jessica is an extraordinary entrepreneur, and she's just she's the brains and the nuts and bolts of the operation. So I'm kind of just the guy that talks about it and spreads the message, but I'm honored to do so.
And
So
we're
tell us
eager.
about,
Oh,
oh, sorry.
sorry, Shelley, go ahead.
Tell us about Ludo, the guy that's on
Yeah, so
there.
yeah, that's really part of the origin story
Yeah.
too. Ludo we built first because we wanted an image that represented the spirit of pickleball. So I think you might be able to see him right here too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ludo is sort of he's an abstract character, and he's positioned in a way that is sort of like the ready position in pickleball, or
Uh-huh.
maybe the kind of running forward in the transition zone place. Yeah. Uh,
Paddle up. Yeah.
and yeah, paddle up. Exactly. That's one of our slogans. So Ludo means I play in Latin. We named
Oh.
him that because we just discovered that we're not totally in love with Latin, but it's just interesting language. But Ludo, he embodies the social aspect. He embodies being ready for anything. He doesn't have a head, so he's said to keep his, big ego out of things, and is
Ooh.
just ready there to play, and he's edgy but like sharp in everything that he does, and sharp in the mind too, even though he's headless. So
He's
yeah,
intuitive.
he's intuitive, right? And personally, I'm big on the mental aspect of the game and that it's so good for our mental health. So it's going to stave off dementia for a lot of people. And yeah, I just think it's great for our health.
So the name of your clothing company is?
It's Vivus Pickleball, Vivus. And we came up with that name after we built Ludo. We're like, I think we need a company name. So we came up with Vivus, and that is a meaning in Latin too. That means fresh living, healthy living.
Oh.
So it's kind of like the fresh pickleball life. Um, that's what we envision, and we hope to spread that, continue to inspire people.
What's the website?
You can find us at pickleballsaveslives.com or vivuspickleball.com.
And that's
VIVUS.
VIVUS.com. Cool. Very
Mm-hmm.
cool. So pickleballsaveslives.com is your
Yeah, that's
wow.
another domain, and it goes to the same website. But yeah, that's one of our main kind of underscoring subtext. That started it all, and we print Pickleball Saves Lives on a lot of our apparel,
Hmm.
and that's actually one of the messages that really speaks so much to our customers.
Hmm.
They love that because, truthfully, most people, if not everybody, has a Pickleball Saves Lives story. Even if it's just I discovered it one day and now I love playing and it's a
Yeah.
big part of my life.
How has it changed yours or saved yours?
Yeah. Thanks for asking. It's definitely saved my life in numerous ways. I mean, I don't think pickleball can do the ultimate saving, um, but I was a used to player, I guess. I used to play a lot of tennis. I was still coaching it at the time, um, but I moved to Bend, and I was in a new place. I didn't have a ton of activities I was doing. I was kind of getting into running and stuff like that, but running to me is only awesome when I'm chasing something. So it made sense for me to fall in love with pickleball. But I met so many friends in this community. I mean, God bless my sister and her husband because they introduced me to so many people when I moved here, their entire friend network and friend group. And then it was only when I kind of fell into pickleball that I just began to know so many folks and then really carved out a niche of deeply admirable friends and lifelong friends. So um, yeah, and gosh, pickleball also is just it's kept me out of trouble for sure. It's kept me busy. It's kept me engaged, and it's given me a career as well. Like
Yeah.
never thought I would have a career in pickleball. And I never thought I would get to apply the skills I grew up developing in anything but tennis. And now that I can apply it in something else, I'm like, wow, what a gift.
Isn't
Yeah.
it amazing? The community that it brings is so much more diverse than we would ever have any other way, right? I
Oh
know
my
people from so
goodness.
many walks of life now that I don't know how else I would have ever met them and how much they enrich our lives.
You're so right, Shelley. I mean, talk about athleticism. I mean, I know people who can barely walk that play. I know people who have spent years in prison that play. And
Yep.
by all accounts that I've heard, they're stand-up people. Um, I know people from many different countries, uh, many folks who have families, many folks who have grandchildren, even great grandchildren. So, uh, yeah, it's stunning. It's really stunning. And then you have all that in common with pickleball. It's pretty cool. Easy to connect with people then.
And you're coaching there. It's Redmond, but which is right next door to Bend, right? And
Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
neighbor.
Hmm.
And so tell us about your coaching. Do you do individual coaching and group coaching as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Redmond is about 20 minutes north of Bend. We're in Central Oregon. Um, my coaching style, I am a huge believer that anybody can learn this sport and it doesn't really matter how skilled you are
Yeah.
naturally. Um, so long as you have a little bit of hand-eye coordination and you can, even then, if you don't, you can learn how to adjust for that. Um, my philosophy is, we address the things in your skill set that are needing improvement, which could be said for everything, but the main things, and then work about 70% of the time on that. And then 30%, 30 to 40% will work on really refining your strengths. Like we'll identify those and become super masterful in them. And those will probably be the things you lean into when you play. And as you both, I'm sure know, there's so many styles in pickleball. I mean, you could play a tournament and face 30 people and they all play a little differently.
Yep.
Right? And some of them can be stark differences. So, and it's pretty early on in the mastery of coaching, I think. And so there are lots for everyone to learn, even the instructors. So we're seeing the development of the game in ways that really shows how you can be an effective player, looking like you don't really know what you're doing. But if you can put the ball where you want to put it and do it consistently, you can be an excellent pickleball player. And win ugly, let's say. Shout out to Brad Gilbert and winning ugly, the tennis guru.
Well, I love what you're saying in your coaching style, because I think I've spent, a lot of my time. I've only been playing for close to coming up on 2 years pretty soon, but I would identify a good player and then I'd want to play like them. And I would
Mm,
try and try, or, try to do it. And it might not be natural to me. And what I'm finally realizing is what you're saying is embrace my strengths and quit trying
mm-hmm.
to place the ball like her, or do this like they do, or just embrace my strengths and work with them. So I love that you're saying
Yes.
that's what you do, is you look at players and work on their strengths. You don't try to teach them what they should do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even the things that are not strengths yet,
Yeah.
they can be learned in a way that's natural for the student or the player. And it's a discovery process for the instructor. I view us as guides, we're just here to facilitate your natural learning.
Love that.
And so, yeah, in that, I mean, we're going to look at how your body moves. And if your body doesn't move like Annalie Waters, which, I mean,
Nobody's
how many
does.
players out there? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to find a way where you can hit really quality shots in a way that feels good for you,
Huh.
and that you continue to have enjoyment with it. Because if you're like trying to hit a shot and you just keep struggling with it, I
Right.
mean, let's try something different.
That's a good
Yeah.
life lesson.
Yeah,
Which is a segue
totally.
into, I mean, my goodness, clearly your heart is such a part of this sport, and your clothing line, Pickleball Saves Lives. My goodness. And I'm sure with the people that you've been coaching and just in your life itself, what are some of the life lessons that you've gleaned that you either take on the court or you've learned on the court and you take into your life?
Yeah. So I've learned that fast friends and lifelong friends have just been right around the corner.
Uh-huh.
In adult life, it's been a little bit harder to get your friend group. Once all your childhood friends and school age friends disperse, you got to find new friends that are in your local community. So I discovered that really great lifelong friends were just right around the corner. So at that juncture, I was like, wow, I'm astounded that I really didn't need to look far. So it was a pleasure to learn that you can just get engaged in what you love and find your friends. Um, and then let's see what else. I mean, at the end of the day, this was hard for me for sure. When I played tennis as a youngster, it was a very lonely thing for me,
Hmm.
and I viewed everyone as a competitor,
Hmm.
as competition, And I mean, we could really like flesh that out and learn like you kind of if you're in that mindset, other people are your enemies because you're kind of
Mhm.
you're trying to best them.
Hmm.
You're trying to get further than them. And in the context of sport, that means you have to beat them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I viewed things that way. I think there was a lot of pressure I put on myself and from external sources too. And it was very lonely and it was very, that wasn't inspiring to me. And I think as a young child, I just did it for the fun of it. And I just had a blast. But with pickleball, I discovered that, really solidified this belief I have that at the end of the day, like the winning doesn't matter. Who you play doesn't matter. It's going to be the relationships that we forge. And when we're all said and done with our lives, it'll be about those interpersonal relationships.
Yes.
And it's been easy for me to see that in pickleball. Now, don't get me wrong. I get a little bent out of shape when I lose if I didn't play well, but it's in a different spirit now.
Hmm.
I think that I'm always thanking my opponents, win or lose, because it's such a gift to be challenged. So that's another life lesson for me. I mean, just recognizing that being challenged in whatever it is, whether it's a debate or a hard conversation with someone or a pickleball match where you're just trying to um, bring out, I think as PJ would say, Purple Jesus would say, you're bringing out a magical moment and you're able to have a moment of just extraordinary series of events, and you wouldn't be able to do that without that challenger on the other side of the court. So
Yeah.
yeah, and so whether it's like strategically or athletically or socially challenged, in a good way, we should be really grateful for those opportunities, even if they're hard, maybe especially if they're hard.
Right.
Yeah, maybe especially if they're hard. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, we're just really thrilled that you took time to chat with us today. And my gosh, the work that you're doing in helping to expand this amazing sport with heart, with intention, with kindness, and through your clothing, through your coaching. And we really just love what you're doing. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you so much. Thank you for having me on, Sharon and Shelley. It's been a privilege.
Pickleballsaveslives.com. And how
You
can
got
people
it.
find you as a coach?
Yeah, I actually have my coaching information on that website as
Okay,
well.
good.
And I'm on Instagram, Deano Pickleball, Deano, and you can also you could come to Central Oregon and find me here.
I was mentioning before that our family is going to have a family reunion there in Sun River, so we'll look you up.
Yes, I look forward to meeting you in person and maybe we
Me,
get on the court together.
me
Ooh,
too. Thank you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
It's an
And
honor. Thank you.
thank you, everybody. How fun to have Deano with us today, and check out Pickleball Saves Lives. We could all start wearing those new clothes and get more people around the world playing this amazing game. Thank you all, and we look forward to a new conversation next week. Bye bye.
If you love our podcast, we'd be so grateful if you'd take a few seconds to follow or subscribe to Life Lessons from Pickleball. This ensures you'll never miss an episode and helps us continue these wonderful conversations.
On Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen, go to the show page and tap the follow button in the top right corner. And on YouTube, click the subscribe button under any of the episodes.
Thanks so much. Hope to see you on the court.